Civic Learning Classroom Approaches. This video is made possible by the California Department of Education as part of the Content, Literacy, Inquiry, and Citizenship Project, which provides professional learning and resources to help educators and school administrators successfully implement California's History Social Science Framework. This video was developed in partnership with the Sacramento County Office of Education and the Constitutional Rights Foundation.
Welcome to this overview of effective civic education classroom resources and their connections to California's History Social Science Standards and Framework. I'm Frank Peasy from the Sacramento County Office of Education, and I'm glad to have this opportunity to share resources that will help you develop your students into effective citizens and participants in our democratic society. While civics is central to the 12th grade U.S. government course, civic education actually begins as early as kindergarten and runs consistently through every grade level. Yes, even in world history courses. We will not be able to cover everything in this video. Instead, this is an overview with examples of the best practices for teaching civics in multiple grade levels and courses. To make this a priority, and as stated in the HSS framework, we want students to develop a keen sense of ethics and citizenship. Develop respect for all persons as equals, regardless of ethnicity, nationality, gender identity, sexual orientation, and beliefs. Care deeply about the quality of life in their community, the nation, and their world, and recognize their responsibility as members of the global community to participate ethically and with humanity in their interactions with members of the world's various nations, cultures, and peoples.
Over their 13 years in elementary, middle, and high school, students should learn and develop the knowledge, skills, and dispositions, or attitudes, needed to be effective citizens. And we don't just mean citizenship in the legal sense of being a natural-born or naturalized citizen. While some of the rights and responsibilities of our system of government, such as voting, apply only to citizens, the Constitution guarantees a set of fundamental protections to all of the people living within our country. With this in mind, it's not enough for our students to simply recall facts about history and our democracy. They must be able to apply that knowledge to better serve their community, state, nation, and the world. Think of it this way. Just knowing all of the parts of a machine doesn't make someone an expert mechanic. What makes someone an expert at something is knowing how to apply all that they've learned to accomplish what needs to be done. This video of rotating gears represents the culminating efforts of people who have content knowledge and know how to apply it. How do we promote civics in the classroom? Research from the Campaign for the Civic Mission of Schools reveals that there are, in fact, 6 proven practices of effective civic learning, which are described in the Guardian of Democracy report, the cover of which is depicted here. Appendix E of the History Social Science Framework also refers to this report. The 6 proven practices are for teachers to provide instruction in government, history, law, and democracy. Give students opportunities for discussion of current events and controversial issues in a safe and structured environment. Provide students with the opportunity to apply what they learn through performing civic-based community service linked to the formal curriculum. Offer extracurricular activities for student involvement. Encourage student participation in school governance. Encourage students' participation in simulations of democratic processes and procedures. Proven practices 1, 2, 3, and 6 can be implemented with classroom resources for the primary grades all the way through high school. Let's explore what these practices look like. Before we move on, let's talk about proven practice number 6. Simulations of democratic processes. Simulations can be valuable learning tools to convey civic concepts. The framework includes many examples of high-quality educational simulations, such as one that has students assume the role of diverse individuals who populated California in the late 1800s. See page 80 of the framework for this example. However, it is vitally important to remember when using simulations and role plays to never place students in uncomfortable situations, particularly around historical views on race. Also, simulations must never cross the First Amendment line by compelling or even encouraging students to participate in a religious practice. So the HSS framework cautions educators against engaging in simulations of religious rituals or devotional acts. Additionally, educators must exercise caution in using simulations when studying California's native cultures and other minority cultures, as these activities can easily be perceived as insensitive. Students in the primary grades learn about the importance of rules and laws. Studying the compelling question, what is the purpose of rules and laws? First or second grade students could identify items that symbolize rules and laws that govern us in their school and community, like stop signs, speed limit signs, traffic lights, and playground rules. Again, through proven practice number 2, discussion of current events and controversial issues, students could discuss the purpose of the rules they found and talk about what life would be like without them. They could also discuss whose responsibility it is to enforce various rules or laws. Hint, it's everyone's responsibility. This conversation lays the foundation for a study of the U.S. Constitution and our government institutions in future grades. The History Social Science framework includes many classroom examples in the elementary grades that deal with civic issues. As shown here, deliberative discussion allows students to learn content and make collaborative decisions with others. In the 4th and 5th grades, students learn about civil rights history in California and the nation. In examining the compelling question, which rights are most important to you, the framework suggests students study the Bill of Rights. To do this, they might imagine that their society has been taken over by an alien civilization, allowing them to keep only 5 of their basic rights. Working in small groups, students have to decide which 5 are the most important to keep. Starting with an example from outer space gives students the freedom to consider the rights that they might hold dear. Extending this activity to include a real-world context can be a good next step toward deeper conversation. This activity is a good example of proven practices number 1, instruction in government, history, law, and democracy, and number 2, discussion of current events and controversial issues, like what is the meaning of having fundamental rights. To find resources on how to hold deliberative discussions with students, please visit the CLIC website. Moot courts are really effective as students in the 8th, 11th, and 12th grades learn about the rule of law and legal institutions, and they are good examples of proven practice number 6, simulations of democratic processes. As shown in this image, in a moot court, students take the roles of lawyers and justices, including Supreme Court justices. Students can examine appellate cases on fundamental rights to answer compelling questions like, should we expect privacy in our own trash? A moot court on a case like California v. Greenwood, a 1988 case dealing with the right to privacy in one's own trash, allows students to experience firsthand what it's like to be a member of the judicial system. Students can also ponder the question of whether or not the warrantless search and seizure of bags of garbage violates the Fourth Amendment. In a moot court, students can re-argue decided cases and see if their outcome was the same as the original. Not only do students learn content through well-designed simulation and role-play activities, they enjoy passionately presenting both sides of issues that are still relevant in courts and society today. For resources on how to hold a moot court or mock trial, visit the Resources section on the Civics page of the CLIC website. Tying historical discussions to contemporary issues involves proven practices number 1, instruction in government, history, law, and democracy, proven practice 2, discussion of current events and controversial issues, and proven practice number 6, simulations of democratic processes. 10th grade explores early modern and modern world history, continuing from the 7th grade curriculum. In considering the compelling question, Should other countries intervene when human rights are violated anywhere in the world? Students may examine the historical response of the world to the Armenian genocide. Connecting past to present, students can study a current example of genocide, such as Rwanda, and simulate a United Nations committee examining the world's responses to this genocide. Relating their study to the Armenian genocide, students can discuss what the world's responses to genocide should be today. From the primary grades through senior year, you can engage students in a civic action project. In this photo, the students work together to present their project's findings. Students should identify issues, research multiple causes and solutions, deliberate, make connections to public policy, and take thoughtful actions to impact the issue they work on. High-quality civic action projects support proven practice number 3, community service linked to the formal curriculum, as well as proven practice number 2, discussion of current events and controversial issues, here through deliberation, of current issues. In 11th grade, for example, students may synthesize their learning about the progressive movement of the early 20th century into a project on the theme of social reform. Middle and high school teachers might want to visit the Civic Action Project website, crfcap.org. Pages 432 and 456 of the History Social Science Framework also provide suggestions for civic action projects.
I hope that all of our examples have helped lead you to the conclusion that civic learning across all grades is not only important, but actually possible. Civic inquiries in the younger grades set the stage for the knowledge, skills, and dispositions students will need to succeed as engaged members of society. Creating lifelong learners who are curious about their world, interested in preserving our democracy, and able to bring about positive change should be the goal of education. Engaging in meaningful civic learning as early as possible is one way that we can realize this goal.
Thank you for taking the time to learn about ways to infuse civic learning into your classroom. To find more resources for educators related to implementing California's History Social Science Framework, please visit the Content, Literacy, Inquiry, and Citizenship Project website at www.californiahss.org. Thank you to the Constitutional Rights Foundation for their content expertise in developing this video, and to Wikimedia Commons for the public domain image of the United Nations General Assembly. Technical production of this video was performed by the Sacramento County Office of Education's Internet and Media Services Department.